Hi, in this video I am going to show you my personal knowledge management system. I'm first going to explain to you a little bit the theory behind my system, then I am going to show you the different tools I am using for all of the parts of the process, and then finally I'm going to show you the different tools I am using with a specific zoom on Obsidian, which is my note-taking software. Are you ready? Here we go. So, the different phases of my system are the following one. It starts with the selection phase. I am choosing which content I want to consume, and I have a filter for that, which is the short-term, long-term filter. For the short-term, which are streams of data, I will have filters that I will put inside of it. For example, Feedly, it's a tool that I use to aggregate all of the sources I'm reading. And for the long time content, I am using principles such as the one described by Nassim Taleb in his book. We'll come back to that later. Then the information, the content I selected goes to the next phase of the wheel of knowledge, which is the capture phase. The capture phase allows me to capture anything I want to capture in less than 3 seconds. The idea is to say, as David Allen was saying it in his book, our brain is meant to have ideas and not store them. And we have to trust the system that we are using as our second brain for it to store, instead of us, the information we don't want to remember in our head. And for example, well, if I'm reading an article, I will have a specific software that will allow me to highlight some parts of the content, and this will automatically be sent to my note-taking software. This way, I don't have to think about all of those details in my head. Every time I've got a thought or a note on a podcast or a note on a book or everything, I know it is stored and safely stored inside of my system. This is basically the capture phase, allowing us to have a no-friction tool that will allow us to capture anything we want to capture inside of the system and not having a mental load because of this. Then we're moving on into the organization phase. This is the phase where we're going to store all of the stuff we captured in different folders. It's not only for the knowledge, not only for the notes, but also for any other type of files you can imagine. The goal is obviously to be able to find any files in less than 10 seconds and to always know where to store a file. Then we're moving on to the deconstruction phase. It is based on a method that is called Zettelkasten, and basically what does it says? It says that to create something, it's much more easy to basically take the content we consume, identify the different concepts of this content, deconstructing all of the concepts that we located in multiple notes to reassemble them after into a new content. And it also allows us to mix different ideas, to mix different sources. Then we're moving on to the creation phase. The idea right here is to, from everything we captured, from all of the concepts we learned before, to create something new. Basically, because we did all of this work before, creation will actually be only making an outline. To give you an example, for example, my book, so it's in French, I'm sorry, but my book about, the book I wrote about knowledge management, right here is only an outline of everything I wanted to put in it. Every time I want to say something, because we did all of this work before, I just have to assemble it, and in each and every one of those blue links is a note that describes a concept like this. So creation is just assembly of pre-made work of Legos, if you know it. And then we have the broadcasting phase, and this is all of the tools and strategies to grow on different social medias and to monetize your knowledge. So as you can see, if you're using the wheel of knowledge as its full potential, it allows you to be a content creator. It allows you to live from your ideas. It allows you to be paid for pretty much having ideas and sharing them with the world. So if you like knowledge, if you like reading, if you're passionate about concepts, this could be the wheel that you need from the moment that you capture and select the content you're going to consume to the moment that you're broadcasting everything to the world and winning money from that. So without more explanation about the wheel, let's get more in depth into each of the different phases, starting with the selection phase. So, as I told you before, the selection phase has two different types of contents. They are the short-time content and the long-time content. How do we say if it's a short-time or a long-time content? Well, to give you examples, short-time contents could be maybe tweets, LinkedIn posts, emails. All of this is short-time content. It's content that is maybe less than 15 minutes to read, to watch, to listen, and it's content that will be expired or mostly expired in 10 years, maybe. And the other type of content is the long-time content. The long-time content is, for example, books that takes you more than maybe 3 hours to read, and that will probably still be valuable in 10 or 20 years from now on. And so this is the two types of content. The idea is not to say one is better, the other is worse. No, the idea is just to be clear on the different types of content you're going to consume and to define a content acquisition strategy. For example, for me, I say that I just made the effort of creating these content acquisition strategies, and I know that I want to have 60 or 70% of the information that I know that is coming from books. So this is defined. And then 10% from podcasts, and then 5% from articles, and the other stuff from discussions or courses, you know? Now that this is said, let's focus on the short-time content. Short-time content almost always come from streams of data. And most often it is presented to you with an algorithm, thanks to an algorithm. The first idea right here is to get out of the algorithm. You do not want your thinking to be conditioned by an algorithm. It will deteriorate your thinking and it's not good for you. So what I'm doing is I'm taking all of the streams of data that I want, that I selected before, and I'm putting them into a software that is called Feedly. So as you can see, here are all my sources. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. So Academy of Ideas, Backing Up the Wrong Tree, Bicycle for Your Mind, Tiago Forte, Ribbon Farm, Seth Godin, The Technium. You can just get inspired by everything I selected right here, but just I'm adding all of those sources right here into a software called Feedly. And this software then allows me to have my personal data flow. Every time some of these sources are publishing a new article, it appears right here. And this way, I don't have to go into all of these websites to find the new article. No, they are just right here, and I can focus on what's important, meaning selecting from all of the books I selected, from all of the articles and podcasts I selected in the past, and then taking this and then capturing the stuff, making it move to the next phase of the wheel. So this is the software I use to collect, to manage short-time content that I want to consume. And then I'm also using for anything that is more scholar, studies, or research or anything. Google Scholar is an amazing way if you know how the research on it works. So those are the two ways pretty much I select short-time content, and that allows me to get out of the algorithms. Then I also included right here in the purpose of this demonstration my productivity system, and it is pretty much the same as Getting Things Done from David Allen. I have a general inbox where everything goes in it, basically. And then I have a protocol that is the following one. If it's easy, one step, I can do it in less than 2 minutes, then I just do it. Or I put it into my Today tab so that I can do it today. For example, if I open my to-do manager software, which is called Things, as you can see, simple tasks that I will do today because they are less than 2 minutes. For example, I have to respond to this guy. I've got to make an invitation on Zoom. I've got to look at the Kruger Park. I've got to look at this thing or to do something with this thing. Okay, and this is the inbox of everything I captured today. Then, if it's a project, if it's multiple steps, it will go inside of a roadmap. A roadmap is basically all of the steps that you need from the moment you are right now to the moment that your project is done, accomplished, published. The list of all of the action you need to take from the moment you are now to the moment that your project is published. And then the last scenario is if planning is necessary, then in that eventuality, you just plan it in your calendar. These roadmaps and then life phases that I will explain to you more in another video are actually stored inside of Obsidian. I will do an in-depth video about my productivity system with the concept of life phases, which is basically to say that I don't want to use trimestral plans or I don't know, year vision or stuff anymore. I want to focus on what I feel before anything and to like invent the concept of life phases. I will introduce you to that in a next video. So now let's move on to the next phase of the wheel, which is the capture phase. So a good capture process is one, well-defined. You need to always know how to capture a type of information, and two, always without any friction. You can capture it in 2 minutes. So for my books, I'm mostly reading on Kindle. So I just highlight some parts on Kindle on my iPad and then write notes about it. Or if it's an article, I'm going to use something called Instapaper, which is this autograph. And this allows me to highlight some parts of the article, to highlight it or to add a note, and this will automatically be synced with my note-taking software, which is right here, which is called Obsidian, thanks to a tool that is called Readwise. We'll come back to it in just a sec. And then for the podcasts, most of the time I'm not using this app. I'm using an app called Momento, Momento. This is an app made to take highlights on podcasts, and so the last 15 seconds that you listened are just bounced to text, and this text is synced thanks to Readwise to your second brain. So this is quite a great app, but you can also do the protocol I'm going to talk to you about in a sec, about paper books for the podcasts. So what is this tool? It's called Readwise, and Readwise allows you to have different sources. So for example, I have connected Kindle, Instapaper, and I wanted to connect Apple Books, and then it will just sync it with my note-taking software, which is Obsidian, as you can see right here. Then I'm also using a software called Zotero. Zotero allows me, one, to read some PDFs, because it has an amazing PDF reader included with an highlighting feature and a commenting feature. And then it allows me to take notes on that, because I can just, if I just move that to trash, I can just, as you can see right here, generate an annotation from the notes and extract pretty much all of the notes and annotation I took from the PDF thanks to this software, and put it then inside of Obsidian. It also allows me to have a reference manager, and every time I'm writing a book or a serious article, I can just put all of my sources in a bibliography at the end of my book easily. So that's why it's 2 times on the drawing right here. And then there is the paper books. How am I taking notes on paper books? Well, it's pretty easy. Every time I finish a chapter, I just close the book, close my eyes, and ask myself the question, did I learn any interesting concepts in this chapter? If yes, what are those? And explain them. This is the question I ask myself. And then I'm just taking my phone and, doing the vocal transcription to text, with the keyboard of my iPhone, and I'm just saying out loud what I remember from the concepts I just read, and this allows me to make a note while I am reading, and also anchoring the knowledge way more inside of my brain and memorizing it better with a simple habit. At the beginning it's a bit weird, but after you just get used to it, and it's really, really easy. Okay, so that's it, I think, for the capture phase. Remember, it has to be well-defined and without any friction. The thing I think the most when I feel like unmotivated to take notes is taking notes takes time, yes, but not taking notes is a waste of time. Stop wasting your time. If you're watching this podcast, it's sure at 100% you're not going to remember it in 10 years from now, but if you take notes in 10 years from now, you will just happen to cross your notes, open it, and just say, oh wow, this podcast was wonderful. And yeah, it's just, you lost your time, on a 10 years period, versus you just took a little bit more time in the past, but your future you will be just so happy to have your note. The next phase of the process is the organization phase. It is this one, and I'm going to show it to you inside of my Finder. It is literally an architecture of files, of folders on my computer that is stored for me, in my specific case, inside of Dropbox, because I love this software. So, what are the software? Those folders, sorry. So the first folder I have is an inbox folder. It allows me to capture anything really, really fast without even thinking where does it go and stuff, and to also have different tickets or stuff available quickly for me to be able to enter into concerts and stuff like this. Then I've got a first folder that is my projects folder. So a project is what for me is something that will come to an end, that will be realized at some point, and that I will have to put in the archive after some time. So those are all the projects I have running right now. For example, this is a course, this is like reflection, this is a business, this is a book I want to write, this is all of my not yet not yet thought well ideas of projects in my incubator. This is my book in English, this is my blog. So yeah, all of the projects I currently have are listed right here inside of my projects tab. Why do I have so much project at the same time? Well, I have so much projects because I'm working in slow burn. Basically, the idea is just to say that I'm not really working on them. I'm not allocating like 10 hours a week on those projects, but I am like little bits by little bits working on those projects, because every time I see on the internet something that makes me move forward on one of those projects, I'm just capturing it inside the right folder. Every time I have a new idea, every time someone tells me something, I just capture it and I'm putting it inside of the right folder. This way, whenever I want to actually realize the project and to finish it, well, I've got all of the information I need already in the right place. Most of the time when I work, I'm actually only doing slow burns. I'm just opening inside of Obsidian my project list right here and thinking, oh, well, atomic editing, oh, it could be work to work on that. And so yeah, maybe I could just keep watching stuff, or maybe write an ad, or maybe, depending on the mood I'm feeling right now, or maybe, I don't know, watching some videos on the internet about different ads that existed or stuff like this. Then I've got my caps. So caps is an area of responsibility. It's something that is longer than a project. Something that is not really gonna get accomplished at some point. It's, for example, I'm a father. Well, I've got the cap father. Or I've got close ones, I've got friends. So all of those friends will have a folder and it's not gonna end at some point. Or I've got a business, so I've got administrative paperwork to do, or I've got my personal administrative stuff, or I've got my business assets, or my content. Content is something that will not end at some point because it's something that I do all of the time. So those are caps, basically. But it's quite the same as projects, just a different time frame and a different objective. Then I've got another folder which is called resources. So resources right now is right here, but do not worry about that. Inside of my resources, I've got different themes, different thematics. I've got, for example, learning, arts, martial arts, biology, business, quotes, complexity, cooking. Those are all, stuff I'm like domains I'm interested about, but they are not really like active stuff, so it's not a cap, and I don't have any project linked to it specifically, but I want still to capture everything every good content that I'm passing by, so I'm just having this folder architecture right here like that. Okay, and then once this is done, I've got the last thing that is an archive, and the archive is basically where I'm going to put all of my expired projects and caps. And then there is the garden. The garden is where all of my notes that will never expire, that will be still valuable in 10 years from now on, are stored. I've got more than, maybe 1,000 different notes right here, and they are all in the same folder because I'm going to explain to you why in the deconstruction phase. So I'm just gonna talk about this a little bit later. So the folder right here, what I'm doing is that I'm also opening them inside of Obsidian. So it is literally the same folder. I'm just opening the folder one time in Finder and the other time inside of Obsidian. So Obsidian is a software, is not second software that is completely free and that is based on Markdown. It's just an amazing software. I did a tutorial just like last week, so you can just check it out on my YouTube channel if you want to learn this software and if you like what you're gonna see in just a second. So all of my notes, all of my projects are also open right here. And so whenever I'm working, most of the time, I'm just inside of Obsidian working. So whenever, for example, I'm having a meeting about a specific project, I'm just gonna go there and just take my notes inside of here. Whenever I'm learning, for example, biology, well, I will have all of the stuff I learned in biology that will be listed right here. How do I decide in which folder is a file going? Because it could go maybe in 2 folders and stuff. Well, first, the organization is designed for the file that you want to store, for that the file that you want to store can only be stored in one specific folder, not 2, only 1. It's not like, you know, the typical folder architecture with, yeah, I've got a sport folder and also a dance folder and a my daughter folder and I don't know, a contemporary dance folder and everything. And whenever you want to store a video of your daughter dancing, you don't know if you have to store it in sport, dance, my daughter, autumn 2022. You could store it in 10 different places, and so you never know where to store it, and especially where to find it. So it's just not a good system, you know, to store stuff. And so what I am using is the architecture, sorry, I showed you in just a sec earlier. And so I am always asking myself this series of questions. First, will it be irrelevant in 10 years? So irrelevant. So if it's still going to be relevant in 10 years, it's going to go inside of the garden, the stuff I showed you, without any architecture around the different nodes where everything is stored pretty much in a shitty organization. If it's going to be irrelevant in 10 years, if it's not going to be relevant, then I'm just making it follow this decision path. First, is it making me move forward on one of my projects? So one of my projects I've got listed right here. Then, I'm just going to close this, sorry. Then, second question that you ask yourself is, if it's no, if it's yes, you just store it in the right folder. If it's no, then is it making me like progress on one of my areas of responsibility, one of my caps? Yes, well, store it. No, then move on. Is it, to which resource does it belong? Is it something about martial art, business, complexity, biology, or anything? And then store it in the right folder. And if it's not something that is linked to any of your resources, then it goes inside of the archive. And this is the way to ensure that you always know where to store a file. So this is basically my folder architecture that is opened inside of my Finder and Dropbox and also inside of Obsidian. Now let's move on to the next phase, which is the deconstruction phase. Side note, in this video we're not gonna see the last 2 parts of the wheel, which is creation and diffusion. We're gonna see that in the next video I'm gonna get out. Do not forget to subscribe if you want to see that. So the deconstruction part is, I think, in my opinion, one of the most important ones and most interesting ones. It's basically this. So it's based on the Zettelkasten method, and we already mentioned it a little bit at the beginning of the video, but I'm going to explain it to you once more. So the idea is to think that every content we consume is an assembly of concepts. As you can see, for example, if this is a book, well, all of the different concepts will be just piled up in some way. For example, 2 books about productivity will have maybe the same concepts, but just will be, I don't know, like organized in different ways with different examples and stuff. So the idea whenever you're consuming content is to take all of the notes, all of the concepts, of your content, and to isolate them, to explain them inside of their own notes. Like this, you have all of your concepts that are separated. Every concept as a node. This is what we call permanent node, evergreen node, and the basic principle is one node equals one concept. This way, you can super easily make connections between all of your different atoms. You can say, okay, this concept makes me think of this one, or this concept is contradictory to this one. And then whenever you want to assemble content, you want to move from an atomic way of thinking to a linear way of thinking, to share it to others, you just have to choose which path you're going to take in which order. For example, okay, I'm going there, then I'm going, oh no, not there, there, then maybe there, and then there, and I'm going to do this connection in this way. And so it also allows us to, when you have all of the concepts deconstructed, to make parallels, analogies, and to confront different concepts that were coming from different domains, different books, that you would never have thought of putting together, but that just appears together inside of your system. I'm going to show you how it looks like. So what we just saw before was something like that, and as you can see, it's really, you can see it in a graph view inside of Obsidian. So each point you see on the graph is basically a node of my system. So where am I going to go? Maybe I can go, there, for example. So all of the nodes are in French. I'm really sorry about that. I'm going to try to explain everything I'm doing. So for example, all of those nodes are concepts. For example, this one is a pretty complicated one, so I'm not going to explain it, but it's just a concept from this book, which is called Introductory to Complex Thought. And inside of this book right here, I've got a lot of different concepts that are listed that I just took and deconstructed. So, for example, if I want to see all of the nodes that are generated from this book, I can just show the graph view around this node, and I will see all of the concepts that I took from this book. As you can see, there is a lot of concepts. For example, a good system must be holistic, or auto-eco-organization, or open system, or rationality. All of the stuff are, all of those concepts have their own nodes, and I can easily assemble them with other concepts. For example, this concept right here, as you can see, is himself assembled with other concepts I took from other books. For example, this concept, which is the confirmation bias, I took from this book, which is called Le Signe Noir by Nassim Taleb, and they also saw in Influence and Manipulation from Robert Cialdini. And so I've got my notes about the confirmation bias and other references right there. And this note right here is also connected to another note. For example, it's called Factfulness, that is coming from, that is a book recommended by Bill Gates by the author Hans Rosling. And this one also has a lot of different concepts. And so then, this book is also connected to other stuff. For example, this thing, also from Le Signe Noir, and so on and so on and so on. So, what does that mean? That means that I've got some sort of neural network where every node is deeply connected with other nodes next to him. And as you can see, whenever I want to create something from this base of nodes, I just have to create a new node that will just be my outline. I'm just going to create an outline. Don't worry if you don't know how to use the software, I made a tutorial. And I also have a free course about Obsidian, so if you want to learn it in depth. So the outline, and then what you can do is just maybe start from a starting point. So maybe, what starting point could I do? Maybe I'm going to start from this. This is a book. This book has some notes. For example, it could be Le Cosmos. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna do something about cosmos and stuff like this. So I'm just gonna put integral theory, integral vision, for example. Then I'm just gonna see what other nodes are connected to this one. I'm just gonna see that in the graph view. Oops, sorry. I'm just gonna open the graph view around this thing. Yeah. So in which way could I go? I can even put 2 levels of depth to see, for example, it's like my friends. No, it's not only my friends. It's like the friends of my friends, too. And and then I can see much more. So, okay, what is interesting to put in this? Sensate culture. What is a sensate culture? Oh, it's integrated around views of reality design. Oh, this is really interesting. Maybe the sensate culture is actually something that allows me to do something, and then maybe the sensate culture is also, oh my god, okay, maybe the sensate culture is actually something that fixes the problem of the of the Greek democracies. And then maybe these notes would also encourage me to view something else, like maybe something about I don't know. Oh, the socialization gives us a biased way of seeing life. So, okay, or this note, I don't know. And so you're just moving on like this, but everything you want to say is already in your system. You know, after 10 years of using this system, you can imagine that, well, because you've read all of the books you've read since 10 years with this system, well, everything you want to say is already in the system, and it's frictionless to create anything. And so that's why I'm loving this software called Obsidian, because it allows you with the graph views, with the links and everything, to have neural networks and to assemble them into new content. And it is also really fun to move on projects, because, you know, I've got all of my projects there, and I can just move on them really, really easily. Okay, well, that's it for this overview of my system. If you want to build it yourself and to use it to manage your projects, to learn more, to, well, just organize yourself better, then I've got some other videos. The first one are my videos about Obsidian on my YouTube channel. I've also got another video explaining the two last parts of the wheel of knowledge, which is the creation and broadcasting parts. I've got also a video about productivity in depth on my YouTube channel. You can check all of those out. But if you really want to just build it yourself, I have a step-by-step tutorial and everything. Well, you can just click on one of the links in the description. Click on the link that, well, matches with your situation the best, and you will discover my methods. I've got 4 of those. I'm just going to show them to you right now. They are Atomic Timing, Atomic Knowledge, Atomic Creator, and Atomic Student. My website is called Atomic Thinking, so you can guess why it's atomic always. And it's atomic because of, well, because of this pretty much, because we're building atoms to reconstruct them into neural networks. And so yeah, those are different classes that you can take to learn how to build your personal knowledge management system. So if you want to discover that, just click on one of the links below this video. Hope you found this video helpful, and see you in the next video.